Welcome to our Prostability exercise program version 3. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to take you through a sequence for some mobility exercises for some areas of the body that we find are commonly stiff in our clients. And then we're going to take you through a little bit of core work because that's something we haven't strengthened yet in some of our videos. And then we're going to do an exercise circuit together where we're going to give you 2 different options of how to perform the exercises. And so we're going to take you through all of these things. The first part of our mobility sequence is called an open book. For this exercise, you might want to use a pillow or something to rest your head on, and you'll need a yoga block or a foam roller like this. So we're going to have you lying on your side, and then you're going to have your bottom leg straightened out away from you, your top leg with the knee resting on the foam roller or the yoga block with your knee in line with your hip. And then you're going to place your hands together out in front of you in line with your shoulders. And then since this exercise is focused on mobility in your mid-back, what you're going to do is you're going to open your hands up and follow your hand with your nose. And come on back. So what we don't want to have for this one is if you just move your arm without moving your neck, because then it ends up being just a shoulder and a pec stretch. So instead, we want you to go ahead and follow your hand with your nose. And so right here is a good opportunity to pause, and you can do about 10 reps of those on either side. The next exercise we're going to show you are hip windshield wipers. So we're going to have you start sitting on the floor with your knees kind of in a 90-90 position with your hips, so kind of like that. And what we're going to have you do is keep your feet in one place, and you're going to move your knees over to the side. So we should be feeling this primarily in your hips. And this exercise can be pretty challenging if you have tight hips, so feel free to lean back if you need to. So that might feel a little bit easier. Again, we really want to feel this primarily in your hips. It's no big deal if your rear end isn't all the way on the floor. So these are the windshield wipers, and then as you get easier, more range of motion in your hips, you can start to sit up more as you're doing this exercise. And now we're going to show you how to do the cat-cow exercise. So this is an exercise for spinal mobility and pelvic mobility. So this exercise is described by the animals that it's named for. So if you were a cat, you would arch your back up towards the ceiling. And if you were a cow, you would let your back sway down towards the floor. So really what we're trying to do is just work on spinal mobility within a range that you have. And Jenna here has a ton of range, and it's okay if you don't have the same amount of range of motion. So whatever feels right for you, however far you're able to arch and however you're able to sway is all good. We don't want to go into pain here necessarily, so just do it in a comfortable range of motion. You can also perform this exercise instead of on your hands and knees, on your elbows and knees. So if you do this from the elbow, you can see that you actually get a lot more motion down towards the pelvis and your low back. And so that might also feel good for you. Again, the goal of this exercise is to improve spinal mobility. So wherever you feel the most stiffness, this can be a helpful thing to work on.
All right, we're going to move on to an ab exercise now. This is an elevated push-up. For this, we have just a regular weight bench. However, you can use a normal chair at home. What does matter is the height of whatever you are pushing up against. The taller it is, the easier it's going to be. Lower down, the more difficult. So if using a bench or a chair is difficult, start off with a countertop or a wall. Right now, Jenna is demonstrating our plank for us. What you do want to make sure is your alignment is correct. So you want to have shoulders, hips, ankles all in a row. You don't want to have your hips sticking out. Boom, like that. You'll feel like this exercise is really easy if you're like that. Or the opposite, you don't want to have your hips too far down where we see that shaking. Okay? Right here, it should be good and should feel some abs kick in. If you're not, think about your head going a little bit forward. There we go. See how she go up on her tiptoes? Great. And then you should be able to hold this for the amount of time we're doing in our exercise program. If that is too difficult for you to hold, again, go up on that height. All right, next we have some oblique work. We're going to start off with the standing side bend. With this, choose a weight that feels like a challenge, but not so much that you're unable to hold it. If you don't have a weight at home, you can substitute with a heavy book bag, get a bucket of water, some gallons of milk, whatever you can that has a bit of weight to it. So to do this, you're going to bend to the side away from your weight, controlling how far you're going down. When you reach that end point, come right back up nice and steady and controlled. You want to think about staying in the lane within your leg so you're not bending too far forward, because that won't feel very good, or too far backward. Okay? So just think if you have a seam on the end of your pants, you're running your fingers along the side of that. Lastly, we're going to end off with some leg raises. Be conscious of what's going on with your abs during this. It's great to either have your phone set up or have a mirror that you can watch what's going on. We want to be careful that there is no doming or some peeking through or poking of your abs in the middle, because that can maybe set you up for hernia in the future. Okay, if this is too hard, we can always scale back. But we're going to start off with just a single leg raise. So just one leg comes up straight, and then gently lowering it down. Make sure you're controlling the way your leg goes down. You're not just letting it slap to the bottom and throw it up. That's just momentum working. Okay. You're going to hit them 10 on one side, 10 on the other side, nice and controlled. Make sure you're breathing throughout this. You're not feeling any pushing of your abs up. If you're not sure what's happening and you don't have a mirror, just put your hands for some feedback. Now, if you are paying attention to your abs and you're feeling this is too difficult for you, a great way to modify it is just changing the length of your leg by bending it. So go ahead and lift up that bent leg 90 degrees, slowly lowering it back down. You can even alternate from side to side with this into a bit of a march. And just making sure your pelvis isn't rocking side to side, nice and stable.
Okay, for your conditioning piece today, we are going to be doing a 3-round workout that has 4 movements. We're going to do each one of those movements for 45 seconds and then give you 15 seconds rest while you transition to the next one. So the first movement we're going to do, and for all of the movements, we're going to give you 2 options. So one of them is a scaled version of the other, and you can pick whichever one feels appropriate for you based on what you have at home and how your body feels on that day. So the first exercise we have is going to be either a banded good morning or a kettlebell top-down deadlift, okay? So what the good morning looks like is you can use a band, and you're going to put this sort of not on your neck, but on your upper back, and step into it. And so what you'll do in this movement is you're going to send your hips back as your chest comes down. So we're just doing a basic hip hinge here. And you'll notice that Megan has her knees slightly bent. We're keeping the full weight in your feet, not moving towards your heel or towards your toe. You should feel this primarily in your hamstrings and your glutes. What we don't want to do here, if you can come on up, Megan, is we're not bending from your back. So if you're kind of doing this with an overly swayed back like that, or if you're doing this where you're bending from your back to get down there, that's not really what we're looking for. So come on back up. So it really is your hips go back and then your hips come forward. That's a banded good morning. Okay, the more advanced version of that is if you have a weight like a kettlebell or a dumbbell, it is the exact same motion. You are just going to move your hips back, and then the kettlebell will go down and then come on back up. So again, knees slightly bent, but they don't bend more as you go, and then come on back up. You can go all the way to the floor, or you can also go just past your knees. That's fine. So to there and come on back up. Again, we're keeping that back nice and flat, not arching it, not rounding it. Hips back, and then come on through. Again, you should be primarily feeling this in your hamstrings and your glutes. If you're feeling it in your back, go ahead and do a form check by videoing yourself do this. The next exercise in our workout today is going to be plank shoulder taps. And so this is going to be an extension of that plank that we already did. So you can do these from the floor. So you're going to get into a push-up position, and then you're just going to tap hand to opposite shoulder. And so this ends up working out your obliques, the rest of your core. It's a good shoulder stability exercise. If this is too challenging, you can certainly do this on a bench. So the same way we did that elevated plank before, you can set up in that same way, a nice straight line, and then just tap alternating shoulder. And those are shoulder taps. Next up, we have lateral banded walks. And so for this one, we're going to have you put a resistance band around your ankles, and we're going to have you just take side steps. So this should be working the sides of your hips. So you can do it in a squat position like this if you want to. So trying to keep that tension on the band, So Megan is just doing steps to stay in frame here. If you wanted to walk the length of a room back and forth, you absolutely could. You can also do this standing straight up. So if maintaining that squat position is hard on your knees or hard on your muscles, this is a good place to start with that. We also have an option for if standing and walking with the band feels a little unsteady. You can also hang on to something like a wall here, or a chair, or anything that works, and then just kick your leg out a little bit at a time. And so again, we're still going to be working that same muscle right here, but a little less motion. If you feel a little more steady doing this, this is a great option. And rounding out our circuit is going to be bicep curls. So for bicep curls, we've got two options for you. You can do this with a band. So you can step into the band, keep your elbows at your side, and then just go ahead and bend your elbows. And so when you're doing a bicep curl, you can do that with your hands pointed forward, or you can do that with your palm pointed in. So whichever one feels more comfortable on your elbow, it's still going to get some good work for your bicep. Of course, we can also do these with dumbbells if you have those available. Kettlebells work fine too for this. Same exact movement. So you can do those curls just up and like that. Or you can also do a hammer curl where you have more of a neutral grip. And again, when you're doing this, be thinking about your breath. So try not to hold your breath while you're doing these. And also think about not bending over too far when you do this or arching your back too far when you do this. So trying to keep a nice neutral spine and just really getting that work focused just on your biceps. Now we're going to do a demo for you of one round of what we'd like you to do for 3 rounds. So I'm going to be doing one version of the exercises and Megan is going to be doing another version of the exercises. So we're going to be working for 45 seconds, so getting as many reps as we can in 45 seconds and resting for 15. You can follow along with us on this one and then pause and do 3 rounds yourself. For you, but just want you to know that you're going to see us working all the way through those 45 seconds doing our repetitions unbroken. It's totally okay if you need to take a little short break in between those 45 seconds because that's kind of a long time to do some of these things if you're not used to it yet. So if you need to take maybe do 30 seconds and take a 30-second break, that's okay too. So the idea here is that you're moving through as many reps as you comfortably can, but we're
you need any review of these exercises, most of them are in detail on our YouTube channel, so check that out. If they are not and you want more detail, feel free to reach out and email. We're always happy to answer those questions.